are entering E&C's Pod of Awesomeness.
Waiting, Jay. I'm waiting. You're not going to jump in, are you?
I'm not going to talk this entire podcast.
Really? Well, some would say that might be an improvement. And you know what? This is a big episode of the E&C Pod of Awesomeness.
I better jump in. You can't do this without me. Let's be honest.
Well, you know, I was about to toot your horn, so you don't
thanks.
have to toot it, even though you usually do toot your own horn, and say that today our guest is your get.
It is a
completely
big
your
too.
get.
Right.
Completely. Nothing to do with me this week. Every other week it's all me. This week it's you.
It's
and
me.
the EY one. But this week
And the
it's
EY
you.
one. And the Beth one. And
It's still
yeah.
disputed.
So, yeah, we got the UFC Light Heavyweight Champion, Daniel Cormier, DC. That's pretty huge, man. That's really big.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and it's some may say, well, wait a minute, I thought you guys were all that stuff. Hey, we are UFC fans, and Daniel Cormier is a WWE fan, so it
He
all
is.
makes sense. And I think by the end of this, people are going to be like, whoa, okay, we're seeing a different side of this guy than we thought, and probably a different side to us than they thought. It's going to be very enlightening, Birdman.
I can't wait to talk to Daniel Cormier. I mean, I feel like we're all going to get along really well.
I feel like it. I feel like it too. We're in agreement here. This is good.
Yeah.
This is rare as well.
This is actually I actually got to put a shout out to my buddy Jacob Ullman from Fox Sports 1. He's a good friend of mine, and he's also a huge wrestling fan.
He's a good friend of mine too.
Yeah, he's a good friend of yours too. But we always, we talk quite a bit, and we usually see each other a couple times a year, but we always see each other at WrestleMania time. We always have a good time together. He's such a good dude, loves wrestling. And this year at WrestleMania in Orlando, I saw him, and we got to talking, and I said, Jacob, in all the time that we've been friends, all the years we've been friends, have I ever asked you for a favor? And he's like, no, you never have. I said, okay, when DC beats Rumble Johnson next week, I need you to help me get him on our podcast. And he's like, it's done. So he held up his hand. So thank you, Jacob. That was great. Yeah. He connected us.
And you were that confident that he was going to win, huh?
I was, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's never, have you seen him? Like, he's pretty dominant fighter.
Hey, I'm there
Yeah.
with you. I'm just
Yeah.
throwing out the fact that you thought it was going to happen. I mean, I did that. That was my pick too.
Well, he did beat him.
He breaks wills is what
Right.
he does.
Yeah. And we'll talk to him about that, obviously, but I mean, he'd already beaten Anthony Johnson, who's super dangerous, probably pound for pound, maybe the heaviest hitter in the entire UFC. And, but yeah, another impressive win for him. So yeah, can't wait to talk to him about that as well.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the last pay-per-view, the WWE pay-per-view. Was it Payback? Did I get it right?
Yes, it was.
It was Payback.
It was
Yes.
Payback.
It's so confusing sometimes just because they get changed. It's Backlash, it's Payback. Now I heard there's one Great Balls of Fire.
Mm-hmm. Is it Great Balls or Great Ball of Fire?
Either way.
Somebody has to throw a fireball, though, right?
You feel like Jerry Lawler has to make an appearance and
throw a fireball.
Throw a fireball. And
Right.
Andy Kaufman should raise from the dead and be the one to take it, I think, with his neck brace still on.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that would be a hell of a spot if they can make it happen.
It'd get people talking. It's an odd name for a pay-per-view.
Right.
It seems to reference a Jerry Lee Lewis
Right.
song that's from the 1950s. But hey,
It sticks in your memory, that's for sure. Some people like it, some people hate it, but it's getting you talking about it, right? So either way,
this is true. I can't say I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
Hey, it makes me chuckle, if nothing else. So that could be an interesting one to talk about. It also is very eerily reminiscent of a skit that we have written for this season of E&C's show that totally reeks of awesomeness on the WWE Network. I won't give it away. All I
give it away,
want to
give
say,
it away, give it away now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. Sorry, I just have Red Hot Chili Peppers on the mind.
Yeah,
I went and saw the
Keeps
Chili
me
Peppers
happy.
live this past week, and they were amazing. So just
Oh,
reminded
with
me of
Baby
that.
Metal opening, right?
Yeah, yeah, they were
So
pretty
random.
awesome, actually. Yeah, it was random. I was like, And I'd seen clips of them before, and they were pretty awesome, actually. And they came out, and they were like, I don't know if people know, like, Baby Metal is this, they're like Japanese, like these little tiny Japanese girls. And they sing with these, like nice singing voices, but they have this, like, thrash, like, heavy metal behind them playing. And they do, like, these dance numbers and stuff with this, like, really heavy music. And it was like, you know, people I don't think really knew what to expect when they came out, but by the end of it, people were going crazy and, like, cheering for their whole stage act and stuff like that. It was pretty cool to see live, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth the YouTube Googleplex check just to see their Japanese stuff and to see, because obviously it caught on over there, and just to see the spectacle of it. It's it's a neat idea, and musically, you know, they're heavy. So
we should
backs it up.
We should get one other person and go out as Baby Metal for Halloween next year or this year.
Yeah, or you know, I was trying to think of like just a really old guy version of it, but I think that's already been done to death with a lot of metal bands nowadays. So they beat us to the punch there. You know, we could go for a Spinal Tap thing, but you know, it's already been done. So how were the Chili Peppers?
Chili Peppers were amazing. They were great. Yeah, it was one of those ones where, you know, I mean, we've listened to the Chili Peppers since we were, you know, teenagers, right? So it's I've never seen them live before, and it was cool because I'd actually met Anthony Kiedis backstage at SummerSlam a few years ago, and he was with the producer, your friend Rick Rubin. Sorry, his name slipped my mind for a second. And
that is blasphemy, by the way.
I'm sorry. No, I could picture him, and the name just slipped. But he, also huge wrestling fan, super nice guy. Always liked talking to him.
I'm going to tell you some stories once you're done flapping your gums.
So he had brought Anthony Kiedis with him to SummerSlam, and I ran into him when I was talking to him. He goes, "Oh, here's this is Anthony." Anthony Kiedis is like, "Yeah, I know who you are." I said, "I'm a huge fan." I said, "Grew up listening to the Chili Peppers." I said, "No," and he's like, "Oh, thanks, man." I said, "How'd you like the show?" And he's like, "Let me tell you something." He said, "I saw the Rolling Stones in this arena like 4 nights ago, and you guys blew them out of the water." And I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever, that Anthony Kiedis said that. So it was cool to be able to see them live. They sounded awesome, and it was one of those ones where when I left, turned on my iPod in the car and listened to Chili Peppers the entire way home, and I've been listening to them ever since because it was just such an awesome concert.
It's amazing. For me, you know, it's pretty well known. I'm a huge music fan. You know, it's always involved in my life throughout my day. The Chili Peppers for me I've looked at them even once they got further past the really, you know, funk band that they used to be. And still can dive into, obviously, but, you know, there's stuff like Fight Like a Brave and everything like that.
Right.
And then when they got John Frusciante and they, you know, Knock Me Down and Mother's Milk and all of those albums started coming out, I was like, oh, they're my Beach Boys. They started to get those harmonies and those higher harmonies and a lot of the guitar parts that Frusciante would play. And then you still kept the funk aspect of it. Right. That Anthony Kiedis brings with his lyrics, and then Flea on bass and Chad Smith on drums. Just that rhythm section is ridiculous. And if you ever see videos of them just jamming and going on a Grateful Dead-esque but much more funky vibe, man, they're just an incredible band in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, much deserved. And I'm going to tell you my Rick Rubin, Anthony Kiedis story now. I remembered who they are.
I knew who he was. The name slipped my mind for 1 second.
So it's WrestleMania 21, the one that was at Staples Center, and it was the Money in the Bank match. You, myself, Shelton, Kane, Chris Benoit, and Jericho. And I remember, you know, we've had this match. It's the first one. It's all of these things are happening, and you know, I'm going over in it. And I remember I'm climbing the ladder to grab the briefcase, which ends up being this hugely pivotal moment. Some would say the springboard for me to go into main events. And I look down as I'm climbing the ladder, and I see in the front row, I see Rick Rubin, I see Anthony Kiedis, and I see Billy Corgan, and they're all cheering. And they're standing, and I just went, whoa, what did that... For me, right there, that's a Mount Rushmore of what I've listened to, you know, my adulthood. from the time I'm 17 on. That's when the Pumpkins are releasing Gish, and that's when Chili Peppers are releasing Blood Sugar Sex Magic. And then there's Rick Rubin right in the middle, who I know is involved with everybody, from the Chili Peppers to Johnny Cash to later Adele, to like just this mind-blowing spectrum of music. And they came up to me after the show, and Kiedis was just like, I don't understand what you guys do. Like, how are you walking right now?
Yeah.
And, and then, of course, I'm thinking to myself, how do you come up with Under the Bridge?
Right.
Like, how do you write the lyrics to By the Way? It just, so very cool.
You know what I should have done?
Since,
when you were mesmerized by them at the top of the ladder, I should have went into business for myself and pushed you off and stole the briefcase, and maybe my career would have turned out different.
You just shove it really hard, like high face the ladder, so
not
it
even
kicks
the tip
out from under me. And
not even the tip one, just one where you jar it so you just like flail off like legs and arms
the Bubba
flying
Dudley.
everywhere. Yeah,
you're gonna do the Bubba Dudley,
crash and burn,
which is another interesting story.
Yeah.
Why not? Well, we can say it now. So, I remember the first time we're going up for the ladders, set up for the first triple ladder match, and Bubba, I don't think had ever used a ladder in a match before, or if he had, he just forgot.
Yeah, we went out to tease. We did like a promo on Heat that was like the live Heat that was right before the pay-per-view at the time, right? Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah.
And we went out and we did the promo, and the promo was we went up and we climbed up and we did the promo sitting on top of the ladders, and they ran out and we couldn't get off the ladders on time. But anyways, go ahead.
And then Bubba pie-faced that ladder like it owed him trans.
Right.
And it kicked out from underneath us, and we like splashed it, basically. And I remember going, we got to give him a lesson on how to push a ladder so that we don't die in this match. So that's what you wanted to do to me at the first Money in the Bank ladder match in L.A. and completely destroy my moment.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much.
Yes, sounds about right. Mm-hmm. Well, since then, I've remained friends with Billy and Rick, and I'm sure annoy them with all the musical tidbits that I always like. So when you worked with Cash, what were you thinking here? What about with Metallica? It's like, how many people am I going to run into that have produced Metallica?
Yeah,
one.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's so funny when you meet like people that you admire or that you're fans of, and they're already like a superstar before you ever became a public figure or whatever it is, and that you almost expect them not to know who you are, right? Even though they're at your show, and a lot of times they just want to ask you as much as you want to ask them, which is funny because I remember this one time we were in Geneva, Switzerland, and I walk around the corner and Phil Collins is standing there with his kid, and I went and I sang Sussudio to him, which he really appreciated. And
Not in the air tonight. You went Sussudio.
Yeah.
That speaks so much about you.
All the time. Sussudio. No, I didn't do that. But I walk around the corner, I'm like, oh my God, that's Phil Collins. And he looks at me and goes, oh my God, Christian, how are you? And I went, I'm good.
You know me?
And he goes, would you mind taking a picture with my son? And I said, no, absolutely, I'll take a picture with him. So I took a picture with him. And then a few more guys came in, and I was just like shell-shocked that first of all, he knew who I was, and then I was standing beside Phil Collins. And he's standing there, and his son is now taking pictures with a few other guys that had come in the room. And he looks at me, in all sincerity, he says to me, he goes, this is so crazy to me. You guys are just like real people.
Says Phil Collins.
And I look at him, and I said, you're Phil Collins, right? And he started laughing, and he goes, well, I'm a retired pop star now, so I'm not that big of a deal. I said, no, actually you are a pretty big deal. But he was a super nice guy. Said that they were wrestling fans, and they watched. That's what they did as a family, which is also very cool. So, yeah, it's cool sometimes the people that you don't expect to run into in certain places, and then you do.
You know what, too? I find the people that are uber successful like that, there's a reason. And It's because they're personable, and obviously broad paint strokes here, but I remember the first time that I went to a Foo Fighters show, and my buddy, Yeti, is shout out Chad, good old Yeti, he's the drum tech for them.
Sirloin.
Sirloin, yeah. So we had met because he's a wrestling fan, and and his son is a huge wrestling fan and everything. We became good friends, and they were in Toronto. He's like, "Hey, you want to come by the show tonight?" Sure. So I go by the ACC, and I walk into dressing rooms that we always use. So it feels like, I know this place.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the dressing room that I usually go to and just kind of hang out there, whatever.
Right.
But I walk into the dressing room, and I look up, and there's the Foo Fighters, minus Dave Grohl, but there's, Taylor and Nate and, Pat and Chris, and they're talking to Rush.
That's insane.
And I just went, oh, man, my mind is melting right now. What is happening? And then I find myself in the conversation. At some point, I have to, extricate myself from this conversation because I'm going to make a fool of myself at some point and just start hugging everyone. So I walk into that back dressing room that I usually go to hang out, and who's in there but Dave Grohl? And this is still iPod territory. He puts on his iPod, and it's Too Fast for Love, Motley Crue. And he starts bouncing. He's like, "Hey, want a shot of Crown?" I was like, yes, I do. And just met him, and we have a shot of Crown pogoing to Motley Crue. And I just went, okay, these guys, they're just cool.
They're just cool guys, yeah.
Nice, laid back, real human beings. It's always been fun for me to, meet people that were huge inspirations, but also huge touchstones in my life that they don't even realize. And then they're just, super kick-ass people. And it also, I'll always remember that when people come up and tell us the same thing, because I always I don't get it. What was the big deal? Just we're wrestlers. But then I think back to, Mr. Perfect was huge for me. And then when I met him and he was nice, it blew the doors off. And I always remembered that, and remember it as he's now walking down the ramp, and we're about to wrestle each other in Boston. So many crazy seminal moments like that in your life that, I'm going off on a tangent that probably makes no sense.
Yeah, do you remember the time we were out back Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, and we'd figured out where the wrestlers come in. I think we talked about it before, that there was no kind of underground parking, and they actually had to pull up and park on the street. And we were waiting up back after a show, and we were big Demolition fans, and it was Axe, Smash, and Crush at the time. And you were a big fan of Smash, and I think he was kind of loading up the trunk. And
do you want me to break into my Smash real quickly?
We'll kick your stick of teeth in.
That's better than your Dusty Rhodes. Do it as Dusty.
We're going to kick your thinking teeth in.
That one was pretty good, actually.
That wasn't bad, right?
That wasn't bad. Getting better.
It was off the cuff.
Right. That's great. But it was funny because, and then I think Axe was at the back, was standing by the back door waiting for him to open the door, and Crush was in the front seat, Brian Adams, and the driver's side door was open, and I was standing there, and I don't know why, and I'm sure you remember me jumping in, and I just had this reaction, and I jumped in the driver's seat with Crush, who is an enormous individual. I was probably 13, 14 at the time, and this is a guy that's 6'8", like 350 pounds. He was huge, and I jumped in.
You were
and
built like a plunger,
right? That's being nice. So I look at him, and he looks at me, and he's like, "Hey, man, what's up?" And I was like, I didn't know what to say, right? So I was like, "You're Brian Adams, right?" And he's like, "Yeah. How'd you know that?" I was like, "Well, I read all the wrestling magazines, obviously before the internet or anything like that." And I was like, "You know what? I know that you were the champion in Portland," and I start telling him about his feuds there. He's like, "Oh, wow, that's cool, man." And then this other guy tries to, he sees them in the car. He tries to come in. He goes, "Hey, who's Battle Cat?" So I pie faced the guy out of the car. And as I'm pie facing him out, I go, "He's Brady Boone." As I pie face him out, I turn around. He looks at me and goes, "Do you know everybody?" And I said, "Well, I do read a lot of magazines." And then I was like, "Hey, man, I'm sorry you guys lost tonight." And he looks at me and goes, "That's all right, man. We'll get him next time." Just so nice and so cool. And then Smash walked around to the driver's seat, and then he looks at me and goes, "Well, I guess the ride was over, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess." He goes, "All right, man, see ya." And he didn't tell me, "Hey, get out of the car." He talked to me and got a kick out of the fact that I jumped in there. And then fast forward years later, I'm wrestling for WWE. Chapters. He's wrestling for WCW. I'm rushing to get on this flight. I'm late. I jump on last minute. I sit down in my seat, and I get this tap on my shoulder, and I look, and right across the aisle from me is Bryan Adams, Crush. And I'd never met him since or before then. He was in WCW. We were in WWE. And he goes, "Hey, man, what's up? I'm a big fan of your work." And I went, "Oh, thanks, man." I said, "I'm a big fan as well. It's so cool." And then we started having small talk, and I was like, "All right, I got to tell you this story." And so I start telling him the story, and he's like, "I remember that." He goes, "I was in Toronto." I said, "Yes." And he goes, "I just remember this kid jumping in the car with me." And I was like, "Man, just the balls on this kid to jump in this car." And and he goes, "That was so funny, man." He goes, "I remember that to this day." He goes, "That's so cool." He goes, "And fuck you." And I went, "Why?" He goes, "Fuck you for making me feel old." But we actually, became pretty good friends after that. And he was a really, really good dude, and just another one of those really a guy that when you met him in person, he was kind of more than what you'd hoped that he would be. He was such a good guy.
Yeah, it was interesting, living in Tampa and becoming friends over the years, and like getting together and just hanging out. And thinking back to those stories of, jumping into cars with Crush, or, listening to Nevermind for the first time on the way home from the Bramley City Center. And, you just go through the years, and then all of a sudden, like you said, hanging out, having lunch with Bryan Adams, and just hanging out and having fun and becoming friends, or pogoing with Dave Grohl.
Right.
Or talking to him about him in his hospital room after he breaks his leg at a concert, and Stevie Nicks comes and visits him, and it's just like, and you're sitting in Wrigley Stadium, Wrigley Field, having this conversation. It's like,
eating their catering.
How did we get here? Like, this is amazing. And I'd like to think that all of us don't lose that fan person perspective. And I think when you do, that's when you get jaded and you become an asshole. And like with a Dave Grohl, he was just as excited and fanboy to tell us that Stevie Nicks visited him in the hospital after his leg as we were to hear it.
And he was even telling us, like, "Man, what I want to do was just like take my phone and just like be that guy and snap a picture and be like, I can't believe this is happening." And he's like, his mind was blown, which is like crazy to hear a guy like him who's a global, superstar, one of the biggest musicians in the world, talking about that he's still, fanboying out when stuff like that happens. So it happens to all of us, right? Like, I mean, which is another cool thing. Like I said with our guest today, Daniel Cormier. Like, I mean, he's a wrestling fan, and if you read like his Twitter timeline, or he watches it as a fan, he enjoys it as a fan. So it's cool for a guy like that too, who's had such big success in MMA. And is a world champion and has all these accomplishments. He's an Olympian, All-American, all these things, and yet he's a huge wrestling fan, which is so super cool as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show today. But before we get to Daniel and start chatting, we've given everyone the email to be able to give us feedback for this show, just to give us ideas just to have their fingerprints on this thing. And we got an email this week, and I feel like I should probably read it verbatim. Is
it because you can read better than me, or?
Possibly. So we get an email from Andrew Semisek, and if I butchered your last name, I apologize. You can leave us a voicemail and let us know how to pronounce it properly, and then we'll play it on the air. Anyway, it says, "Hey, E&C, been loving the show since episode 1. I wanted to send the story along to you since I think you'd get a kick out of it. I was listening to the Beth Phoenix episode, my God, a few weeks ago en route to my brother-in-law's wedding with my 2 sons, and got so wrapped up in the episode I had no idea I was speeding on the highway with a cop behind me. Needless to say, I got slapped with a ticket and a fine, but in the end, it's something I'm embarrassed over but wanted to share nonetheless. Love you guys and keep up the amazing show. Feel free to mention this on the show if you want to." Well, we mentioned it, and you're embarrassed, and that's okay. That's okay. Not that I'm happy that you got a speeding ticket, but at least you were engrossed in what we were saying and didn't realize there was a cop behind you. So I guess that part of it kind of sucks. But thanks for the feedback, man.
Yeah, and if we were nice
the
guys,
wedding was good.
If we were nice guys, we would pay your ticket. But we're nice. We're not that nice.
That's actually, that would have been a good idea.
Yeah. Depends on how much it was for. Oh.
Well, yeah, that and the fact the other guy that got in the fender bender while he was listening to us.
Well, he did say that he was listening to Beth Phoenix, so maybe we could just put it all on her.
That still comes out of my pocket too, though, because we're kind of a joint thing, right?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
No, but that's cool though, man. Like, I mean, not cool that happened, but it's cool that he was like so into the show and shouldn't be embarrassed about it. I think that it's a great story, and glad that first of all everybody's all right. But yeah, thanks for sending that along to us. It's pretty funny and I don't know.
Yes, thank you for embarrassing yourself on our pod, even though, like we said, we don't think it's embarrassing. But and hope the ticket's not too big.
That's a loyal listener right there.
Andrew Simacek. Yeah. Simacek.
You know what that is? You know what, hold on a second. I'm just, that actually says send me a check. Andrew, send me a check. Oh my God.
Okay, it was
oh my God.
in there, huh?
Andrew, send me a check.
It reminds me of Semenko. Dave Cementhead Semenko. Do you remember Dave Semenko?
I do.
Edmonton Oilers?
He was Wayne Gretzky's unofficial bodyguard. Or official.
Before Marty McSorley, yeah?
Yeah. Cementhead.
Huh. I really like Dave Semenko. He did have a cement head. His cranium was huge.
He just had that cool name, too, like that tough guy name, Semenko. Right?
Like his pillow, he would have to sew two pillows together, two king-size pillows together, I think, to fit that head on a pillow.
I wonder how big if you wore a cowboy hat, how big his cowboy hat would be.
I bet you could do a NASCAR lap on it.
Probably.
That probably a little big, but
number 27.
Number 20. Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. Does this mean we're now going to segue into hockey chat, or because it seemed like people kind of liked our hockey chat?
Yeah. I mean, we can talk a little bit more about the playoffs if you want. I mean, I think my predictions look like they're coming true. The Sens in the East and the Oilers in the West is what I said.
That is what you said. No, you didn't say the Oilers in the West.
What do you mean?
What do you? You said the Ducks.
Did I?
You said the Ducks. You tried to just sneak one by me there. You did say the Sens. I said the Pens, and I still think, barring Sydney's melon, I think the Pens are still going to go through.
Sherry, I think, got hurt too, and I think Brian Russ got hurt too, so it could be interesting.
Could be, and that could sideline my pick for the East.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I would prefer for the Sens to go through because I like the Sens.
Yeah,
and it'd be nice for a Canadian team to pick up the cup again, since the last team was Montreal in '89.
Imagine the buzz if it was Crosby versus McDavid in the final.
Ooh,
yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah, interesting.
That's the equivalent of Gretzky Lemieux at one point.
Right.
Yeah. And before that, Gretzky and Bossy.
Yep. Yeah, when the Islanders were their dynasty. Yeah, Bossy
I took it back there, buddy. I took it back there. Yeah.
Ooh,
some Long Island folks will be happy I mentioned that.
Yeah.
I bet you Mega Matt might even be a little bit happy I mentioned that. Are you, Mega Matt?
I'm a Ranger guy, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, okay. I mean, for the sake of Long Island, I'm sure they're very happy. I actually got chirped on Twitter over my John Tavares comment last week.
You got chirped?
Yeah. Yep. They were just like, leave him out of it. But
don't put it in anybody's brain, basically.
Right. But he's still going to Toronto. And then I had the worst weekend of my life watching the Rangers blow a 2-goal lead with 3 minutes to play.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Yep. Just get back on there and tell him the greatest Islander ever is Patrick Flatley. You'll be all right.
Yeah, greatest Islander and finished up a Ranger. Pat LaFontaine too, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm still going with the Oil. I think they're going to pull it out. I think Anaheim showed, why they are where they are, but I'm still feeling the Oil. I think it was a little bit of home jitters.
Yeah.
They're a young team, but I think they're still going to come out of the West. I know it seems like a long shot, and Mega Matt's Preds pick is looking good. They are just flying under the radar.
Oh, man.
That team,
they look good.
That just gets cohesion at the right time, and we've always talked about it. Fourth line and goaltending wins you playoffs.
Right, and now that Subban's healthy because he was kind of banged up this entire season, making that trade look really good, right? The Canadians are out in the first round with Weber, and now Subban, who's a dynamic player, maybe a little bit of a lightning rod at times because he's got such a personality off the ice, but I think that's great. But amazing player, you can't deny that, and he's playing out of his mind right now.
Do you think Nashville do you think they won that trade, the Weber for Subban at this point?
Looking right now, they are.
If you're looking at it right now, yeah. Montreal flies on the shoulders of Carey Price, and you can't just solely depend on your goaltender to get you through. And as I said, I think a fourth line and goaltending is what wins cups. But yeah, I think right now, if you have to look at least for this season, Nashville won the trade.
Well, then you got the emergence of guys like Ryan Ellis, and Yossi's, who's been good the last few years, but Ellis has been playing great as well. Scored some key goals here in the playoffs too. So maybe with Weber gone, those guys get to pick up a little bit more minutes, play a little more prominent role. So it's they've always been good at building a great defense, and even with Weber gone, they've continued to do it.
And what I really like about Nashville, and this goes back to being a kid and watching hockey and basing a lot of my favorite teams on jerseys. When it came to international competition, I always loved Sweden. I love the yellow jerseys with the blue crowns. Nobody else did it, and I just thought it was awesome, to the point that when I meet someone Swedish, like I acted with a bunch of guys on Vikings that are Swedish, and as soon as I meet them, I picture them wearing yellow hockey jerseys.
Yeah.
Which can be kind of strange when I'm in a show where we're supposed to be dressed as Vikings.
Right.
But my point, before you cut me off, you son of a bitch, is that I like the Nashville jerseys because they're yellow, and they remind me of Sweden, so they have a soft spot for me.
So you just got mad at me for cutting you off, and you just repeated everything you've just been saying for the last 2 minutes.
No, but I related it back to Nashville.
Oh, okay, gotcha. You know what? I bet I
weren't giving me that chance.
What if Nashville put Viking horns on their helmets? Would that make them cooler?
Ooh, what if they put the saber-tooth teeth on the helmets?
On the front of the helmet.
They'd be like prehistoric and
It did take me a little bit to get used to Nashville changing their helmets from blue to the gold helmets. Took me a minute to get used to that.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it at first, but I'm used to it now.
But now you like it?
Yeah, it's different.
And we know that Eric Young, is in that arena every time, in the Bridgestone Arena, bouncing around, getting his voice as high-pitched as he can with that thing.
Yeah.
And just screaming at the top of his lungs for the Preds.
Yeah. He should be doing that, too.
It makes the game that much more enjoyable for me to watch when I know that he's bouncing around like a giddy little school child, trying to with that crazy voice that gargled with razor blades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
EY.
Oh, EY makes yet another appearance on our show.
Yeah.
We'll have to have him back someday, especially if the Preds win the Cup, so he can talk about that.
Yeah. Let us know what's going on in Nashville, what the vibe is, That's my town. They love me there.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes I just go in.
You know what? Back to the I saw the Foo Fighters in Nashville at the Bridgestone Arena and ate all their donuts that were given to them by Jack White.
That's pretty crazy.
They were really good donuts.
They didn't want them, or you just didn't care that it was given to them as a gift?
I was really hungry. And I ate a box of donuts.
That's so funny.
I have no Cadillac converter. That stops me from going 85. It's like if something like that gets in my face and I see it and then I have like one, I won't stop until I have 10.
Mm-hmm.
And feel like it's about to come out.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is too, your character is so established, you don't have to worry about your body.
That's right. Exactly. And
that's how you justify it.
And on Vikings, I'm wearing like 18 layers, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You've earned it. Eat that donut.
I don't think I should, but I did that night. So I don't know. We've gone all over the place on this, but I think it's probably time to get to our guest. Oh, wait, probably. We wanted to talk about one other thing.
We did?
Yeah, we wanted to have our contest. We wanted to announce our contest for this month. Which we thought we would have the winner on the show May 26th. And this month's contest that we thought you can leave a voicemail, you can leave an email, you can tweet us, you can Facebook us, you can do all of those things. But what we want to do is we want to get a name for you guys, for our fan base, for our listeners. Right. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, we've had people kind of sending in already, whether they mean to or not, sending in some ideas, and like hashtag whatever it is, and kind of making, a little name for our fans. So let's make it official. Let's have one. Throw it out there. Let's. I feel like our fan base is very creative, as we witnessed with the voicemails and the last voicemail contest we had to have the person on the show with us, who is the Stone Cold impersonator. So I feel like it's going to be great, and I feel like we're going to get some really funny ones, some ones that are like super crazy, and I'm looking forward to see what we get here.
Obscure, random.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get a lot of that.
Throw it all out there. The more
so
obscure,
that is
the more
this
random,
month's
the better.
contest. The winner, who again we pick because it's our show.
Yeah.
And you'll be on the show May 26th to have a little chat with the old E to the C.
Yep.
Yep. That I think that covered everything and then some. So
Right.
I think it's time to get to our guests. People they don't want to hear us flapping like this.
Well, they don't want
all
to hear
this
you.
hot air flowing out of our face,
No.
out of our asses. After
You know
I
what
ate
I'd
10
love?
donuts.
I would love for Daniel to get you in the octagon and just fucking choke you out. That's what I would love. I would love for him to just tap you. That would be so amazing for me.
And here's the thing. I don't need Daniel to do the things to you that I want to do. I want to rip your throat out.
Oh, I could do them. I just don't.
No, you can't.
I could.
No, you
You're
just said
so
you needed
far,
somebody else.
No. You're so
You just
far
said you
beneath
needed
me.
somebody
I wouldn't
else.
even soil my hands with you.
Oh, you'd be beneath me under my ground and pound, yo. Oh, yeah. I'd just be smashing your face.
Here he is, DC, the UFC Light Heavyweight Champion of the world.
You're listening to E&C's Pod of Awesomeness.
All right, so this week, our guest, Daniel Cormier. And just to let everybody know, we briefly touched on it before you came on the show, Daniel, but we're big UFC fans. We know you're a big WWE fan, so this felt like this just makes sense.
It makes absolute sense. It's kind of sad that it took you guys so long. I've been sitting patiently by the phone waiting. I was like, I'll know. I did Stone Cold podcast, and I was like, I'll know I made it whenever Edge and Christian give me a shout. I'm like, all right, I finally made it now.
In our
That's the litmus test, yeah.
In our defense, Daniel, this is only our 6th episode, so
Oh, okay. I did not lie.
So you're in the first bunch, man. This is big.
Yeah, you're our first
It's a big
pro
deal.
wrestler guest.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then maybe this is a big deal. I'm gonna start patting myself on the back.
Yeah,
There you go. Do
give
the
yourself
old
that Barry Horowitz.
Barry Horowitz number. If you can, I can't reach back there anymore.
Yeah.
But
But
I can't either. My arms are too short.
yeah, but the thing that I think that it's very cool is obviously you're a world class athlete, UFC Light Heavyweight Champion, but I appreciate, I know Edge appreciates how much you like and enjoy and are vocal about how big of a WWE and wrestling fan that you are. I know you were at the pay-per-view this past Sunday. What was the experience being there like live and witnessing that?
It was great, man. Look, I'm from Louisiana, so you remember back in the day, when they had the territories, Mid-South was our region, so I got to watch all those guys pass through, the Junkyard Dog, Kamala pass through that territory, and the Big Cat, Ernie Ladd, he was the man.
Yep.
And so I've been watching wrestling my entire life. It's just like, why? Because I'm a professional athlete, I have to give up something that I've enjoyed my entire life. There's no chance I like it. My kid loves it now too, so it's cool. Going to the event on Sunday, it was great because the WWE always does a fantastic job of taking care of me. They give me great seats. They gave me 14 or 16 tickets last weekend. They gave me 8 for me and my kid and some of his best friends ringside, and some of the kids on my youth wrestling team got to go and watch too because they gave us all these tickets. It's still kind of interesting because when we go, the good guy doesn't always win. That's just not how wrestling works. You know that. There's going to be sometimes people win by dirty tactics, and for a 6-year-old boy, that does not fit well with him.
Doesn't compute. Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't compute. So even Seth Rollins, who's one of my buddies, when he won the title at WrestleMania, he was a bad guy. My kid hated him. He did talk to me 45 minutes after the show because I was cheering for Seth Rollins. Now that Seth is a good guy, he still won't talk to him. When we're in the back and he's like saying, "What's up, little guy?" He still won't talk to Seth Rollins. He's so pissed off still because
he's holding that grudge.
The bad guy is now a good guy, and so it doesn't really happen. But he lost it when Randy Orton lost. Oh my goodness! When he lost it, I think he might have cussed. If I got to be honest, I think my son may have said shit. I can't quite tell for sure, but I think he might have cussed.
It was funny because I went on your Twitter and I saw that you and your son and some of his friends had gone, and I watched the video of little Tyler, and his take of the House of Horrors match was hilarious.
Nobody understood what was happening.
I laughed so hard.
Because he goes, my kid and Tyler, they were sitting there discussing it with each other. Finally, Tyler reaches over to me and he goes, DC, he goes, I don't understand the House of Horrors match. So I grabbed my phone and started to record him. And he just said, there's no pinfalls or no submissions or countouts. Like, how is this even a match? He was like, but the whole place, though, guys, the whole place was like, everybody was kind of, I think you may have appreciated it more on TV than being in the arena because you kind of, and you want to be seeing the actual fight, you know?
Right.
Well, and I was going to ask you about that because in the arena, I'm sure it was a fully different experience because I was watching it on the network and, you know, it was like watching a TV show, basically. But when you're live there in the arena, you pay to see live wrestling. You pay to see the guys up close and personal. So that could be a disconnect. I was wondering if it was. Yeah,
but the lady that does the ring announcing said the fight will start at Bray Wyatt's House of Horrors and finish in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
So she told everyone. So then I thought it was done well. You know, I thought the visuals were good. I thought it was good action. I thought it was good, but the people in the arena were booing so much. I don't know if you guys. I haven't gone back and watched it. I don't know if like on the network you guys had any reaction from the crowd in San Jose. People were going crazy, and I think that was right after Bayley lost anyway. So they already were kind of pissed off.
Yeah. Hometown girl loses her title.
Like,
Huh.
So they were already pissed off, and then you get this House of Horrors thing, and you know, like, hey, you know what, man? Every time I'm in a limo, I'm gonna start cruising like Randy Orton, no shirts, jeans on, elbow pads. Like Randy's like wearing his elbow pads with no shirt in the back of a limo. And how cool is that guy?
Very few could get away with that.
The only thing that I wish was that, like, okay, so this is kind of like, of course it wouldn't have worked, but imagine if Bray would have said, driver, take me to the arena, and then he would have just came to the arena. There wouldn't have been a match in between. It would have been like he left the house and then he was just at the arena. That would have been good.
Yeah.
Because the House of Horrors is just right around the corner.
Yeah, it's on the next block.
He happened to purchase a house in San Jose just for that very reason.
That was the other thing too. It's like pitch black. Meanwhile, what was it, like 5 o'clock in San Jose?
Yeah, but it doesn't get dark till almost 9 o'clock at night. So I even tweeted that. I go, wait, it's still daylight, like for another 2.5 hours. Like what? It was. I think like it was. I thought it was I thought it was thought well, but I think they didn't take it to effect that it was going to still be daylight in San Jose, so it'd be hard to really.
Yeah.
Get that to translate. Even WrestleMania when it was in Santa Clara, I mean, it was daylight for almost the entire show.
Yeah.
So it kind of changes the experience.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of the ambiance away when it's like that, right?
It does. Yeah. But it's interesting. I think it was a good idea in concept.
Right.
It's just hard when something's brand new like that to, and the TV and movie snob in me was bothered because I could see the cameraman's shadow a bunch of times. So I was like, you guys, you got to get your lighting better. And, and then the commentary said that he was trapped under a fridge when you can clearly see it rolls off of him. Those are little things that are important. But I'm the nitpicking, like every little thing. If I'm involved in something, I want it to be, commentators don't say that because clearly it rolled off me, that kind of stuff.
So things like that, like the House of Horrors matches, like, it's different. And sometimes different is, like, hard to kind of... I promise you, like, when I was younger and I was, like, about to go to college, and you guys started doing all those tables matches and those ladders and stuff, I was like, man, this is bad. These guys are going to kill themselves. Like, I really was like, I don't know
we almost did.
Like, I really didn't know if I liked them when they said everybody's going crazy because they want to see somebody get hurt. Like, just know, guys, that one person actually cared for your well-being. And I was like, these guys are going to kill themselves. I was like,
These guys are going to be wrecks when they get to their 40s.
I was like, this is going to be bad. I mean, how are these guys going to walk? It's you know, and it's just like football. And I'm like, I hardly can watch football, not live. Can't watch football live.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, and the more that comes to the fore with concussions and injuries and all of those things, and maybe now being a parent as well, I really do have a harder time watching things. Like, I still watch football. I still watch UFC. I still watch wrestling. I still watch hockey. But there's a little bit of me now that's like, oh, okay, just everybody be okay. You know,
yeah, like I know for me too, like if I'm watching a big fight or something to that effect, whether it's UFC, whether it's boxing, or yeah, there's a big hit in hockey or something and somebody doesn't get up, the first thing now that enters my mind is, I wonder how bad they're really hurt, like they're concussed. I wonder how bad, if this is going to really affect them going forward. You know, that's kind of the first thing on my mind now, but that we know what we know.
So Todd Grisham now used to work for the WWE.
Yeah.
Now does play-by-play for the UFC. And a few weeks ago on network television, this guy named Jake Ellenberger got elbowed by a guy named Mike something, Platinum Mike Perry. And this dude was down for maybe 3 minutes. And when that happens, you keep the camera off the guy.
Yeah.
You know, you keep the camera off of him because but then Todd brought light to it. He goes, Ellenberger's still on the ground. The referees are looking at him and like, Todd, don't say that. You don't want people thinking, well, is this guy okay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different world we live in now with all the knowledge of what concussions can do and everything. And you know, as a competitor, is that something you just got to push out of your mind?
Oh, yeah, I don't think about that, man. You know, I worry about that for my son because my son's kind of a bigger kid, so his baseball coach is like, hey, can you play football? And I'm like, is it flag? He's like, no, it's tackle. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm concerned for it because I'm like, you got to protect my kid's brain. But I don't have a problem going in there and fighting with 4-ounce gloves. You know, it's like, I'm almost 40, so it's like, look, how much brain cells do I have left anyways? So it's a little sacrifice to make some money for the children. But you just push to the best. You know, I worry about my kids. You know, more than anything, it's just make sure my kids are fine, and as long as they're fine, Selena's fine, everything else is okay, man. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But those guys, they put on the show Sunday. The last match was good. That's strong. Yeah. He's a big, monstrous guy.
He's a beast, isn't he? He's a throwback to the 80s when everybody was in that ballpark of size, but he's even bigger than a lot of those guys.
He's big and he can move.
Yeah.
He can move. When he does that running corner splash, man, I don't know if Reigns is just the best at selling that move, or it looks like he's getting more impact than I've seen on the move in the real long. I mean, he makes a running power slam seem like it's just devastating.
Yeah.
And it's rare for a dude that big to have good footwork because, as you know, footwork, it's very important, you know, and it's very important in wrestling. I can always tell when somebody, I'm like, their footwork isn't good. So everything looks a little bit awkward. It looks a little bit unathletic, but he's not one of those guys. He's like Kane and Undertaker in that they had good footwork, and maybe that's because they were both basketball players, and I don't know what Strowman did before, but he has a good center of gravity, and he has good footwork, which, like you said, is rare for a dude that big.
Well, he used to do those world strongman competition type things, and I know that. And but he's starting to. It seems like too that switch with him is starting to flip on as far as a guy his size, that less is more.
Yeah,
so to speak. Where you know
he's gotten a lot better from when he first started. Like when he first got there with the Wyatts, you could tell it was like he could go 2 minutes. I started to worry. I was like, can this dude really do a 10-15-minute match with?
Yeah,
and he can. You know what's weird is that my kids, you know, all these kids, you know, you want to preserve the innocence. Like from my kids' reaction to that match, and the boys, like, they're all stressed out when Roman Reigns is getting beat, because kids love Roman Reigns. It's just the adults, they hate him.
Yeah.
But kids love him. And he's getting just demolished. And my son is like, he's sitting there the whole match. He's going, "You suck, Strowman." Him and the next kid, they're all going, "Strowman, you suck. Nobody likes you. Leave the WWE." And they're just going nuts the whole time. And then,
That's
at
crazy.
the end of the show, they run him into the ambulance and everything else. Well, we're walking back to get my car through the base of the arena as the ambulance is, and then as it goes out there, they see the guy, like, and one kid's like, "Wait," he's about to cry. "Is Roman really hurt? Like, what's going on? He just stood up." And I'm like, "All right, let's go through this door and not the other door," because I really want him to. I want him to keep it, and I want him to keep the innocence, because I remember when I first found out, like, when the Iron Sheik and Jim Duggan got caught together, I was like, demolished. I was demolished. I was like, what is happening? So I want to preserve that innocence for him,
It's almost like finding out Santa Claus isn't real, right? Like, it's that same type of thing. You don't want to believe it. And I was the same way when I was a big wrestling fan when I was a kid. I remember people telling me, "Well, wrestling is fake." And in my head, I'm like, "No, it's not." And and there was nothing to prove to that I had any solid information as to why it wouldn't be real. So in my mind, it was. And like, there wasn't the internet and those sorts of things that there is now. So, but I think that's cool that you want to keep them. Like I said, it's suspending disbelief, and that's cool that they still get that type of feeling when they watch it.
It's awesome. They are so engaged because to them, these guys are superheroes. Mm-hmm. But I told my cousin yesterday, I go, when my son, when it's time for him to know that, wrestling's not real anymore, I'm just going to hit him with the whole snowball, man. I'm going to tell him, I'm going to take him to the wrestling. I'll show him it's not real, and I'll tell him about Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, and everything, all in one shot.
Just make it an avalanche.
Right,
turn that snowball into an avalanche.
I'm just going to avalanche this dude. I feel like you are diabolical. I'm like, listen, I'm just going to hit this dude with an avalanche and just be done with it.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, you were talking about before growing up in Lafayette, Louisiana. You were an amateur wrestler, amateur standout. Any thoughts of maybe trying to be a pro wrestler when you were younger?
I thought about it. Even after the 2004 Olympics, I thought about it. I went to, there was a WWE in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Pat Patterson, and Gerald Briscoe. Gerald Briscoe wrestled at Oklahoma State, so he's a cowboy.
Fellow cowboy.
And me and this guy named Muhammad Lawal.
King Mo, yeah, we know him.
So me and Muhammad Lawal both were thinking about doing it, and they brought me to a show, introduced me to a whole bunch of people, and I talked to Kurt Angle, and Kurt said to me, "Look," he goes, "professional wrestling will be there." He goes, "You're 25." He goes, "Finish your Olympics. If there's one more quad for you wrestling, do it. You'll be 29. You can still start wrestling at 29." Well, after 29, I just started fighting. So it was kind of like, it was kind of that deal. Like go out and try to win an Olympic gold medal. You didn't accomplish your goal, so go try to do it in the next quad, and then afterwards see what happens. And obviously, my path, my journey went in a different direction. But
it worked out good for you.
Yeah,
it turned out pretty good. It turned out pretty good, I tell you that.
Yeah, and MMA obviously wasn't what it is, in recent years at that point, as far as, earning like serious money and being looked at as a mainstream type sport. It kind of seemed like it had a little bit of that redheaded stepchild type vibe that wrestling had for so many years as well, where people kind of looked down on it and thought it was kind of like human cockfighting and stuff like that. So to see kind of where it was, and then you waited a few years and then got into it when I guess real rules had kind of been established. I think they probably had been in quite some time before that, but it started to really gain some steam mainstream. But even like at 30, if that's when you've kind of finished up with the Olympics, that seems kind of late in the game to even get into MMA. So what was it that kind of flipped the switch there, where it was like, I'm going to try this MMA thing?
Well, it was Muhammad Lawal. Mm-hmm. He was actually doing mixed martial arts and professional wrestling, just regional and stuff. And he's like, "You should try fighting." And I went and I tried it, man. But you're right. And I was living in Oklahoma at the time. So, especially in those very conservative areas, they weren't that big on mixed martial arts. So this was at the time that John McCain, who now has become a big advocate for the sport, was calling it human cockfighting. So I was like, I can't fight. That's too much. But 2009 and 10 rolled around, and I tried it, and I was like, man, you go to the UFC. And have you guys ever been to a UFC event?
Yeah, we have.
We went to one. We went to the first Diaz-McGregor out in Vegas.
Right. So you went to a massive one, and it's like the energy in this arena is unmatched. It's like once you're in there, you're hooked.
Mm-hmm.
So I went as Cain Velasquez's training partner, and I was like, I gotta do this. And then I fell in love with it. But at 30, you're right, it's late, but I didn't have the wear and tear of some of these kids that start at 22. And by the time they're 30, they've been fighting 8 years. You look at the Nogueiras. I saw Nogueira the other day, and that dude's like 2 years older than me. But he has so many wars and pride that he's like, he's so beat up. Or Shogun Rua. Shogun Rua is like 32 years old. Shogun is like 32 or 33 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Pride was just like a chew 'em up factory, wasn't it? It just, man, some of those fights. Ooh.
Kicking each other in the head. If you fell on your hands and knees, they could proper kick you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, you go back and watch some of that stuff, and it's just like I'm very glad that the rules have been implemented like they have. But I want to go back because you talked about Cain, and you guys are teammates, and you were heavyweight. Now, because you didn't want to fight Cain for the title, you dropped weight to light heavyweight. And how difficult is it for you to make weight? Because I look at it and I'm like, gosh, like if I were to have ever done that, I sit at about 250. There's no way I could drop to 205. But I would get annihilated by guys that are 280. Because after they cut the next day, you look at Brock and he was like 290.
Brock looked phenomenal at the weigh-in, and then on the fight night he looked great. I think he looks better when he fights because he's smaller. He's more like ripped up. And WWE is a little big, but I just it's tough. It's tough. I gotta admit it. It's not easy to lose at times 40 pounds.
Yeah, because I'm gonna say, what do you walk around at? I was gonna say about 240, right?
Yes, sometimes 240. I mean, if I take too long off, I can be 250. Just not in shape or anything. I'm fat. But it's like I'm 250, but I still got to lose 45 pounds. So that's why now I'm trying to be a little more active. Last year I only fought one time, and then the year before that I fought 3. But the last fight was in October. I didn't fight until July, and then I didn't fight again until April. So in 17 months I fought one time. I'm trying to be more active now so that I can manage my weight better.
Yeah, it's got to be a big decision too, as far as do I want to do this? Do this weight cut, compete at a completely different weight class, because it's not like you couldn't compete in heavyweight, and that's why you were considering doing it. You were dominating people at heavyweight, and very realistically, with Cain, if Cain wasn't there, you would be the champion because you were beating everybody. So how tough of a decision was that for you to think, man, I don't want to fight this guy. I'm just gonna change weight classes.
It's like when you think of friendships, right? Like, so you think of you guys. Imagine if you.
Oh, I would stab Edge in the back in 1 second.
Is that?
I would stab Edge in the back 1 second.
Stab me in the back in 1 second.
I'm just saying, listen, Christian. So say you're. I don't know who's younger.
I'm a Christian. That's me.
Christian is 1 month younger.
Exactly 1 month.
Oh, you guys are the same age. But so whoever started wrestling first, all right, whatever. So you go and you have 3 years in the game, and then Christian decides, I want to try to fight. And the moment you walk in, Christian, Edge takes you and goes, I'm going to teach you everything. I'm not going to hold back. I don't care that there's a chance that one day you could overtake me, become a bigger star, make all the money, anything. There is no... And, Christian, you came in with an Olympic-level background. So you're Kurt Angle, whereas Edge is a guy that loves professional wrestling, and he's not that blue-chip recruit, right?
Yeah.
But he still takes you under his wing. He says, I'm going to teach you everything I know, and we're going to do this together. But when that time comes, and no, we're not talking about performing. We're talking about I have to fight, see him take money from Michelle and Coral, and essentially hurt that man. There's no way, because I know that I would not have gotten to the point where I could even attempt that without him. So it's very different in that sense. So the decision wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
Once he was the champ and I was ranked number 2, I was like, okay, now we're getting too close and something needs to happen. I was actually in a contract meeting with Dana White, and Dana even said it. He goes, "Are you going to fight Kane?" I said, "No." He goes, "There are a lot of guys that say they won't fight." He goes, "You two are too good to not be at the top of the division, so eventually you guys are going to fight, or you're going to have to go down in weight."
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I said, I'm going to go down.
Man, that is a huge decision, and I don't know. It just speaks to the type of person you are, even though we're just talking for the first time. But to do that for friendship and to think beyond and think of families and how that reaches out to the families, that to me speaks volumes. Because, like you said, making 205 is difficult. So you're giving yourself a lot of extra work.
Yeah, it's tough. I've got to be very careful, because otherwise my camps are not about being better. They're about just making weight. We don't want to always do weight cut camps. These fights are so big and hard.
Right.
I've got to be preparing myself to the best of my ability.
Would you say you've been tested a little bit more at light heavyweight? Because it's funny. I was watching last night. I went to bed and I was just flipping through the channels, and one of those UFC replays was on. And it was literally your fight with Alexander Gustafsson was starting. And I was like, well, we're talking to DC tomorrow. I'm going to watch this fight. So, and I've seen it before, but it's been a couple of years since I watched it. And just like, I mean, he's as tall as a heavyweight or even taller, but has he's got that. He's a little bit quicker because he's not carrying as much weight, it seemed, and just that range and but once you got through and you got in tight and you were like and kind of getting those quick uppercuts in when you had him by the back of the head and things like that. But it seemed like sometimes is it a little bit more difficult to fight a guy like that and like Jones who are almost like have the height, the size of a heavyweight, but also are a little bit leaner, might move better.
Yeah, I've been tested way more. The only guy that tested me at heavyweight was Josh Barnett.
Mm-hmm.
He was tough. He's a mean, ornery son of a gun, man.
And he just knows the game so well at this point,
Yeah, he knows the game. He knows all positions. He's a very smart person.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of like he knows where to make you fight. But yeah, it's been way tough. I think the biggest issue is at times I still fight as if I'm at heavyweight. I'm kind of plodding forward, trying to grab single leg, wrestle, get into the clinch. Whereas these dudes are fast, man. These at 205 are fast. They take that jab. They're moving on their feet. They're jabbing. So I'm having to really set traps. Gustafsson was tough because he was so long and because he's in good shape and he never quits on himself. You can make some guys quit. There are certain guys that they'll roll over, man. Alexander Gustafsson, Jon Jones, those guys never give up on themselves. Mm-hmm. So they're really tough. But
that's your game.
Is easily the toughest fight of my career.
That's your game, and that's why I like the way you fight, because you can I watch you break people's wills, and it's just by dragging them to that fence and putting your weight on them. And I've always liked that. Plus, too, and I'm not just blowing smoke here, but I like guys who do most of their talking in the ring. So I was a Couture fan, Dan Henderson fan. That's why I like you, because you just go in and you do what you do. You just wear people down and don't really talk about it. You just do it. So I've always really appreciated it. I think GSP's another guy,
Well, you guys have a little bit more of a tie to GSP than that. Let's not just pretend it's only because let's not just pretend it's only because he doesn't really talk. There's a whole Canadian thing. I know how fly I know. Don't pretend. You guys probably
there might be some national pride in there too.
A little bit.
There's a little bit of it, but no, man, lately I've been having to actually do a little more talking, because the fans have look, and I've heard this a lot of times. The fans, they've kind of turned on me, which is okay. I get it, it's okay, but I kind of relate myself to Roman Reigns, John Cena, those types of guys, the guys that were supposed to be the good guys. But the fans just have something that they don't like. Something doesn't resonate with them, and it's okay. But so I've kind of been having to talk a little bit more, and it's refreshing. People don't want to be told, I'm good, so you should cheer for me. And Jon Jones is a guy that has made a lot of mistakes. So maybe people relate to him more, and they go, you know what? Forget this Daniel Cormier, goody two shoes, him and his kids and his family. You know, I want the guy that does cozy parties and crashes cars and stuff. You know, that's the guy I like. That guy's good.
Well, maybe it just says I'm boring because I like the family guy who goes in and works hard and just wears people down. But maybe that's just me.
I swear But that's my thing, though. That's what I tell them. I go, maybe I'm not cool enough. I go because I go to work, I fight. When I'm not fighting, I go back and I go to my kids' soccer and baseball games. And that's what I do. I go to wrestling. So I'm not out partying. I'm not out doing all kind of crazy stuff. Maybe I'm just too boring. But look, I'm fine with it. I like my life.
Here's the thing, too, and I'll put it in wrestling terms as well because it's the same thing for wrestling, is that it doesn't matter if they're cheering or booing you. It's when there's silence is when you have to worry. If they're making noise, if they're reacting in a certain way, they're invested in you in some way. They're either paying to see you lose or they're paying to see you win or whatever it is. They're invested in you either way if they're reacting. And that's the way I look at it. And you just have to roll with what it is. And I appreciate the fact that I think that it probably has a little bit of your wrestling histories of being a fan is that you can kind of bring that persona out of you and talk about it. Not that you necessarily need to do that with a guy like Jon Jones because it seems like you guys legit don't like each other, and I think that's awesome as well. But even with the Rumble Johnson fight, it seemed like you were doing your thing and talking your game, but also it seems like maybe there's a little bit of a little wrestling flavor pulled from that as well.
Oh, I do it all the time. I do try to take from the experiences that I've had. I mean, listen, back in that before, now I gotta be honest, I don't listen to many promos. But before there was no TiVo. I couldn't fast forward the promos, so I used to have to 30 minutes of promo. Yeah. You guys would be sitting in the middle of the ring doing all kind of crazy stuff for 20 minutes. I would have to watch every second. Yeah. You're taking photos. You're taking pictures. I had to sit and watch every one. I didn't have TiVo. And maybe that's why I appreciated what you guys did, because no matter, it didn't matter what they gave you or what you guys came up with, you made it your own, you made it your best. That's all I'm trying to do. Yeah. So I do take it from that. But I took it from stuff like that. Back in the day when there was no TiVo and I had to sit through the entire promo. I haven't watched a promo in maybe 10. I haven't watched a promo in 3-4 years straight. Not one full promo. They're too long.
It's interesting. I saw your comment that you related yourself to the Roman Reigns of UFC because the night after Mania, Reigns was in the ring and didn't say anything for like 10 minutes and just got booed out of the building. Great. And for a current UFC Light Heavyweight Champion to relate something to pro wrestling, I appreciate that because, as we talked about earlier, you're not afraid to admit that you like this, and it's because you grew up watching JYD and Ernie Ladd, and you have a love of that, which can translate to this. And I think maybe Chael Sonnen was the first guy that really tapped into that. Like, he reminded me of Roddy Piper in a way, and it felt like he was the first guy to go, we can sell a fight.
Yes. I think the greatest promo he ever did was when he told Anderson Silva, Anderson, we're going to have a rematch, but we're up in the stakes. You lose, you leave the division. If I lose, I leave the UFC forever. That was classic.
Loser leave town match.
That was classic professional wrestling. Huh?
He's booking his own angles.
Loser leave town. Loser leave town. It was classic. The wrestlers and the people in the arena went nuts. But to me, I'm like, oh my goodness, Chael must have watched Raw last weekend.
That's funny.
Or some old Mid-South. Loser leave town, yeah.
Loser leave town match. I was losing my mind. I was going crazy. I was like, oh my goodness.
So you got to be honest. Were you for this last weight cut with your match with Anthony Rumble Johnson was a week after WrestleMania? Were you more mad or agitated about the weight cut, or were you more agitated that you couldn't go to WrestleMania because of the fight?
At one point, there was a plan in place to fly down to Orlando, from Orlando fly up to Buffalo for the fight. That almost happened. That almost happened. And Selena goes, have you lost your mind?
That's funny.
Sometimes the old lady has the strong head. You know,
Right.
She goes, have you lost your mind? I was like, what do you mean?
Uh-huh.
She goes, you're not going to Orlando. So you want to fly across the country to go watch your wrestling? And she calls everything WrestleMania because she has no idea. Sunday was WrestleMania. She calls everything WrestleMania. You want to go to Orlando to go to WrestleMania, which was, and fly to the fight? She's like, no. She's like, no chance. Because her and the kids are coming too. You know, she didn't want to go to Orlando.
Yeah.
That almost happened. Me and my entire team of 13 guys are going to fly down to Orlando and fly up to Buffalo. But we had media in Connecticut like one day after, so it didn't work.
That's crazy.
So when you watched Mania, we're assuming now that that's Undertaker's last match. How did you feel watching that?
Yes.
You know, on the network.
Okay, so I'm flying, and I didn't realize that all of a sudden Delta now has fast enough internet on their planes to stream it.
Really?
I streamed WrestleMania from
Wow.
the airplane.
That's crazy.
So I'm watching it, and Reigns goes over on the Undertaker, and when Reigns goes over, I'm happy because that's how business is supposed to be done. On your way out, you give the other guy the rub. You get pinned clean. No funny business. You get pinned, and you go out on your back. That's like the history of wrestling. You go out on your back.
Yeah.
Who gets to go out on their own terms? And honestly, it was sad, but look at what happened. Look at yours. It's like, who gets to go out on their own terms?
Yeah, I mean, and Taker's that kind of guy. He wants to be the guy that gives to the business. And that's the way I would have gone out, too, if there was a choice in the matter, you know. We just didn't know.
Of course. You would have did it. You said, you know what? I'm going out on my back. Somebody's going to pin you.
Yep.
One of the new guys would have pinned you, and you'd have walked in. That's how it's done, man. And the bigger the stars, as you guys are huge stars, you do the business for the guy that's coming up behind you, and hopefully it does what it did. Because Reigns' thing on Monday night was the best because they were booing. They were going crazy. That was one of the most organic reactions I'd heard in a really long time. They hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Which can be rare in such a, at times manufactured business, too. So if we go back to this weekend's pay-per-view, what was your favorite match?
Honestly, I did like the last match. I like Strowman and Reigns. I did, man. It's hard hitting. I like the hard hitting match. I like when they're beating each other up, and you hear the sound, and they're just really getting after it. I thought Alexa Bliss did phenomenal. I think she's gotten so much better in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
I never imagined that she would be this advanced this soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the last match, man. I like the last match. I thought it was good. I thought Reigns showed some signs, but he just got beat up. And that is how you create a monster. You let him beat your guy. You let him beat the man. It was like when Brock Lesnar suplexed Cena 25 times and pinned him. It was the best.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you got a guy, Roman Reigns, he's like 6'4", he's 260, he's a big Samoan dude. It's hard to get sympathy on that kind of guy, and you finally have a guy that you can get that with. And I think the first time they worked was on Raw or something like that, and Reigns went over, and I just went, oh, no, that's your guy that Reigns shouldn't be able to beat and keep bumping up against him and failing, because that's when people will get with him. When he can believably be an underdog, and you got Strowman and Lesnar are the only two guys right now on that roster that I think that can be believable with.
When you watch it, and you find yourself cheering for the little guy. Like, when Christian, when you started making your runs to the title, it's like, he's actually going to be the champ. Like, nobody ever thought it was possible.
Right.
With Roman, it's like, from the day he stepped foot on the main roster, you knew, this guy's going to be the champ. Like, it didn't take a rocket science to figure it out. And people don't like that.
Yeah.
They don't like being told this is the guy. But he's such a good worker. The dude's always there. It's not like he's never hurt. He's always there. He's really good. But he doesn't need to win against Braun Strowman. He doesn't need to win. He can go out there and fight valiantly.
Actually, it might help him.
Everything be okay. Now, the issue is Braun Strowman now is like becoming this huge fan favorite for beating him up.
Yeah.
They're trying to make him get booed, but it's backfiring. You said they try to get sympathy for Reigns. Man, you should have heard in the arena. As he was getting beat with the stairs and everything, they were cheering, "Thank you, Strowman." These people are crazy. It was crazy.
But that's been the problem, is because Reigns has, basically beaten everybody and right out of the gate beaten guys. He's never come up where he loses and loses and loses and loses, and there's nothing to get behind then. It's like, okay, why am I going to like the guy that's always going to win? So I think this could be eventually the kind of thing that starts to turn people, get behind him, or maybe it's too late. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the fans of wrestling now, I like it. I think sometimes, and I asked this question on my Twitter the other day, why do people like to chant so much? Like, what is it? I don't get it. I feel like sometimes the fans need to, I feel like the fans need to go watch the show. You don't need to be so involved. People out here doing a job, sometimes it's a little hard to listen to. One guy made my son cry one time, and he made my son cry because when John Cena got pinned by Alberto Del Rio.
Really?
Yeah, my boy started crying. The guy was like cheering and jumping up and down, and he was sitting there eating McDonald's, and me and my girl looked back and go, that's probably why you have a girlfriend sitting up here use all your money for the rest. We were so pissed. I wanted to kick his ass so bad. My son cried. Sitting there eating your freaking McDonald's? Wait, that's why you have a girlfriend, dude. He's like, what? I was like, that's why you have a girlfriend. You use all your money for your thing. You got it free. So I'm pissed off. Make my son cry.
And imagine that guy. That guy goes to say something and looks and goes,
maybe I shouldn't say something to this guy.
Yeah. yeah. I'll pump the brakes on this.
Danny, let me ask you a question. When you go to a wrestling event or watch it on paper, or even like if you're a boxing fan or whatever, do you ever get like for me, and I'll try to put this in these kind of terms, like for me, when I was wrestling on something big, I had those little jittery butterflies before I went out, the anticipation to get out there and do your thing, but you also knew that, hey, I got this under control, this is my thing, I can do this, when the pressure's, at its highest, that's when I'm at my best type thing. But when I don't have control of that, when I personally can't touch the situation, I get nervous. Like, when I watched your fight against Anthony Johnson, I was nervous watching the fight because, one, I wanted you to win, and like I know the power that like a guy like Rumble Johnson has, right? Like he doesn't just like rattle people, like he sleeps them, right? He puts them to sleep with like one punch, and you're just standing there in the pocket, like playing, like I said, almost like taking the will out of him because you're playing right into his game and kind of taking that away from him right off the bat. But do you get nervous, one, watching other events that you don't have control of, and like when do you have a sense of calmness before you go to the octagon that the work is done, or do you kind of have some nerves, or how does that work for you?
I have nerves before the fight, competitive nerves. I'm never scared, but like I have competitive nerves. But honestly, man, I get to the arena and I just lay down. I lay on the mat until it's time to start training and getting ready to go. I get super nervous when my teammates fight.
Right.
Like I corner them, like Velasquez and Rockhold, like they actually want me in their corners. And the whole time, my head is buried into the coach that's in front of me, barely saying anything because I'm so nervous because, like, I can't help them, and the last couple of times that they fought, they lost. So I've had to sit there and watch. Oh, no, actually King beat Travis Brown, but when he lost to Verdum in Mexico City, that was horrible. And watching Luke lose the belt to Bisping was horrible. So it's like I get so nervous when those guys fight, whereas when I fight, man, it's like, you have all these nerves before, then they start to kind of fade away when you go to the. Before we walk, we go to almost like a staging area. Mm-hmm. It's like we go to a staging area and we stand and wait for the opponent to go, then we go. And once I'm there, I'm still like a little bit nervous, anxiety. But once I walk into the octagon, it's all gone. Mm-hmm. It's all gone. And I'm telling you, man, when that octagon door closes. I stand there, guys, and like it's almost like with everything that's going on around me, 18,000 in Buffalo, it's almost like I can hear that pin drop in the gate when the door closes. Because it's like everything else is just gone. It's just me, my opponent, and the official. And every time it's almost like I hear boom, and I hear the pin drop, clink. I'm like, all right, it's time to go. And it's like it's the weirdest thing that I feel like I hear it. Every time I fight, I feel like I hear when they actually put the pin in because that means it's time to go. Yeah. Crazy.
It's fascinating to me the way an elite athlete's mind works different than I think just the average person's, and the things that, the way that an elite athlete, their mind computes things differently.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. It's just, it's just you're so in the moment. Like, I mean, you can feel like it's like you have to be so aware because one strike or one thing can put you out and you're done. One mistake and it's over.
Yeah.
So you have to be like super aware, man. Your antennas have to be up, and I think because my antennas are perked up, I hear it and I feel like I hear that clinking sound, and it's almost like okay, you know. And everybody always asks me, "Are you scared?" I go, "Well, hey, you think that's the time to be scared? I mean, I got myself here. I might as well fight. Can't go anywhere else. I walked in here. Not like I can just go, okay, guys, I changed my mind. I don't want to fight."
You know, it's like what Adam just said about elite fighters or athletes thinking or being on a different wavelength almost. Like I think about too, like how like you dominated heavyweight, then you moved to light heavyweight, and you're undefeated, and you lost the fight to Jon Jones, and sometimes a loss can kind of almost derail somebody. I think about like a guy like Chris Weidman, who's recently lost a few in a row after he had his first defeat. Even Rousey or even Chuck Liddell, like after he got beat by Rampage, I mean, it kind of wasn't really the same after that. And I think of guys like you, it almost made you better, or like a guy like Conor McGregor, even when St. Pierre lost, like something like to that level of an athlete, it almost made you better. And what was your mindset after that?
I was demoralized, man. I was, Selena and we had our two young kids at the time, and it would take them out all day to just give me time to sit in the dark and really deal with it, because I needed to deal with it. I needed to hurt. Like some guys are like, well, you got to get back on the horse. You got to get back. You got to get out into the world, see that people love you. Nah, I needed it to hurt. I needed to sit with my loss and let it sting and burn. So I would sit there all day and I would watch it over and over and over and over again in the dark for 3 weeks, where she would say, you know what, I'm going to take the kids out, and I would just sit there and let it burn and let it eat me alive. Because if you let it eat you alive, you realize you never want to go through that feeling again. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, man, I just let it tear me apart. I let it really tear me apart. Kind of may not be the healthiest way to deal with it, but I think it's made us better on the opposite side. Now, reality is we got the fight for the belt right back again because of Jon's indiscretion. So that helped. But I let it tear me apart, man. I let it break me down, eat me up, and chew me up, spit me out, and see how I come back on the other side. And obviously I've won 4 fights in a row now, and it's back all good. And we're right back to square one with the one guy that actually beat me,
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, how you feeling about everything now? You, like you said, his indiscretions, we all hope he's past them and in a better place. But, I mean, what do you think? What do you think going into, I know you've been here before a few times, but here we are again with that on the horizon. What are you thinking?
It feels good, man. Jon and I have been scheduled to fight 5 times. We fought once, so I hope that everything gets done and we get to fight in Anaheim, because he's my white whale, man. He's that guy that I have to go and chase down. I have to get it done. For me and my legacy, for my sanity, for me as a competitor, I have to stand across the octagon from Jon Jones again and win this time. It sucks to lose, but it sucks to lose and know that you did not fight your best and get the most out of yourself. There's so much more I can offer in a fight that I didn't in a fight with Jones, and I think that and hope that we are able to do that this time. This is the big one for me. It's the one I've been chasing for 2.5 years, and I can't wait for it.
Nice. Well, as it comes closer, if you ever want to come back on this show or after or whenever, you got an open invite. But I have to ask you too, and this is a bit of a derail, but I did a fundraiser this week with Dan Gable, and we work for a local charity here, my wife and I, called Headlock and Hunger. It's basically it's an amateur wrestling themed kind of charity community where we raise food for kids that don't eat at home, basically, and the only meals they get is at school. So we've gotten 500,000 meals into kids' bellies from doing this thing. So we had Dan as the keynote speaker this week, and I've met Mr. Gable many times before, and he was fired up this week with everything that's going on with Boise State. I mean, what's your take on that, and what needs to happen to amateur wrestling for that not to happen anymore?
Well, the Boise State thing is unfortunate. It's very unfortunate because this is a good program. You think 4 years ago this team was ranked number 2 in the country. It isn't a bad program. The guy that beat me out of the NCAA tournament my junior year was from Boise State. So they've had some phenomenal wrestlers. As a sport, I think that we have grown, and when I say we, I'm talking amateur wrestling. I think we have grown in terms of the product, in terms of being something that people want to watch. Because before it was so boring. The scoring was a little bit difficult to keep up with. Now they simplified to where the general fan can watch, and now that's why it's on ESPN for 4 days in a row. Every session of the NCAA tournament is live. What needs to happen is we have to do more promotion in the mid-level schools. Whereas at Oklahoma State, Iowa, Penn State, those universities, kids are in there every time watching. They know how valuable and how important the wrestling team is. I think in those programs like a Boise State, they become an afterthought. So when they feel like something can be done away with, it's an option. They have to make the sport valuable. They have to show the university that this sport is valuable and you need wrestling. It's just, a lot of this stuff can't really be helped quick because of Title IX, equality. But I think if we show that our sport is very valuable, they would be more hesitant to drop some of these programs. I mean, Fresno State just brought theirs back after like 10 years, which was a disaster in itself. So hopefully Boise State gets this worked out. I know it was put on a hold instead of just being dropped now. So hopefully it gets worked out, man, and Boise State wrestling continues on.
Now, what do you think? Because Dan thought that having female amateur wrestling is going to help, and to me that makes perfect sense because you have UFC and you see Ronda Rousey and all these stars exploding from the women's division, and now in WWE you see it too. Do you think amateur wrestling up until this point has kind of only had half the market that they can get in terms of students joining the program? Do you think that will help in having a female wrestling division? Because my wife wrestled on the men's team in high school because there's no women's team.
So there are a lot of college wrestling programs. The issue is not many of them have women's teams and men's teams in the same university. Now, to start the female team, it takes funding. So if the university gets behind it, there are so many female wrestlers in this country to start those teams. It would be great. And then Title IX, equality, instead of saying we have to drop wrestling or a baseball team to add volleyball, you can say, well, we have women's wrestling that is on the same level as men's wrestling. So you don't have to drop the wrestling program. Yeah, I think it'll be good, but right now it's the National Wrestling Coaches Association is what the women wrestle under. They don't wrestle under the NCAA. I think more female programs could help. It could help. But they will have to put some of these programs into these bigger universities to really show that they're trying to really make a push into that market of wrestling, the female market of wrestling. They got to put them in some of these bigger universities.
Interesting. It was just hearing him speak on the state of amateur wrestling and where he thought it needed to go. I thought it was pretty eye opening.
He's a different cat, man. Love Dan Gable. He actually was my coach on the 2004 Olympic team, so I got to spend a lot of time with him and kind of take in that mentality. He's a different guy, one of the greatest wrestlers we've ever had in the country.
That's awesome.
Well, man, we were super stoked to have you on the show. We talked about all kinds of stuff. It was a really good time. If you ever want to come on, if you want to talk and actually promote something, because this time you just came on to be cool, but if you want to promote something at any point, just come on. You got an open door.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys so much.
Hey DC, thanks. We appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing what happens. Hope you get that fight with Jon Jones, and maybe when you, I think the outcome's going to be different this time. And when it is, maybe he'll have to, maybe he'll kind of take his soul, and he'll have to come back and do that Matt Hardy type thing. Maybe call himself Broken Bones or something, right?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Let's get it done. Hey, thank you guys, man. I appreciate it, man. Hey, again, huge fans. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
You're listening to E&C's Pod of Awesomeness.
Well, that was fun. Our first non WWE / pro wrestling guest, and it's nice. It's nice to go outside the box and just talk to a guy who has. I've always said, UFC and WWE, they're the same tree. They're just different branches.
Right.
So there's similarities, but it's just fascinating.
Well, with a guy like him too, that gets that, you know what I mean. He knows the separation, but when he's watching a WWE or whatever wrestling show that he's watching, like he can get lost in it. He almost, he can separate that from the UFC or from a football game or whatever it is, and takes it for what it is and enjoys it and loves it for what it is. And you can hear that when he's talking about it, his joy that he gets from not only experiencing it for himself, but with his family, his kids, and that's cool to hear, man. And it's just cool to hear his take on everything too,
Well, and as I briefly mentioned in the chat there, I did a function this week for a charity that we work with locally here in Western North Carolina, along with Beth. She's the vice chairperson.
Wow.
And it's called Headlock on Hunger, and it's an amateur wrestling outreach. There's also Huddle Against Hunger, which is the football program, and we have Hoops on Hunger, which is the basketball program, and we have Brad Johnson, we have Brad Doherty, we have Heath Schuler all involved, and it's basically to get meals together for kids that don't eat when they go home, just whether it's due to finances or whatever it is. So in talking to so many of the amateur wrestlers this week at the function, they're all like, man, you're the reason I started amateur wrestling, or you're one of the reasons, because pro wrestling was the conduit for them to do amateur wrestling. And I know for me it was in school. It's like, I want to be a pro wrestler, so maybe if I do this amateur wrestling thing, it'll help toward that. It was Beth's idea to do that too, and I think a lot of, and obviously it was the same with Cormier. He was like, okay, well, if I this amateur wrestling thing, pro wrestling's very similar. So, although it has huge, massive differences too. But it was just interesting to do this function and see how many of them, showed up in the wrestling room and went, okay, so where are the tables and steel chairs?
That's But and also
not much to add to that, huh, Bert?
No, I mean I just thought it was funny. Like,
but we got the good fake Christian chuckle in.
That wasn't a fake chuckle. That was legit chuckle. That it was
sounded
like
it, so it always makes me happy.
Yeah, no, it's funny that they're looking for that to hear wrestling, and that's all what they kind of equate it to. It's pretty funny. But but more than that, that is for a great cause and obviously a huge problem. And no child should have to go hungry ever for any reason. So that's a really important thing you guys are doing. So it's very commendable.
It's interesting. Well, thank you. But as we started to become more locally ingrained in the community and things like that, and doing some work with this guy, Bill Murdoch, the guy's amazing, but he does a lot of the work with Eblin Charities, and we started this program, and then in hearing that 1 in 5 children in the United States, if not the richest, one of the richest nations in the world, and 1 in 5 children goes home hungry, from school, that's one too many. Out of every 5, you know what I mean? So we did that this week. That was very cool, and it just seemed to coincide with talking to another Olympian. Yeah, I've talked to 2 wrestling Olympians this week, so it seemed to work into chatting about it this week.
And you also had a table for 3 with another Olympian, Kurt Angle. So really, you talked to 3.
How about that? I've talked to 3 Olympians, amateur wrestling Olympians, in 1 week. Look at me.
Right.
Look at me.
You're an Olympian magnet.
I just attract Olympians.
Right.
Just come flying to me.
We should probably wrap this up. We've talked for a while today.
So we have.
Yeah,
we have. It's good chat. Good chat with
talks.
UFC Light Heavyweight Champion Daniel Cormier. I said Daniel.
Right.
We should probably throw out his Twitter handle, which is at DC_MMA.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can reach us. You can leave us a voicemail because we're going to start doing our little voicemail deal again. Like, tell us if you think the show sucks, if you think it's good, or if you just want to be completely random. Do that too. Let us know at 929-367-8204, and of course on Twitter at E&C Pod, and our email address ecpodofawesomeness@gmail.com, at EdgeRatedR, at Christian4Peeps. That's us.
You can always listen to us on the normal outlets, and maybe you'll discover some new outlets that I don't know about because I know nothing. But it's, what is it? Is it iTunes Podcast now? They changed the brand?
Apple Podcasts.
What is it?
Apple Podcasts.
What is it?
Apple Podcasts.
It's Apple Podcasts.
Right. That's what it is.
Apple Podcasts. I'll get it eventually.
Yes. Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast. Download, rate, review. And, I just realized something else, and I got to get DC back on the horn here when we get off because I forgot to ask him to choke you out, which I'm going to do right now.